My name's Tony Armour. I'm the Dallas Film Commissioner. And who are you? Why don't you introduce yourselves to our audience?
I'm Britt Harris.
I'm Molly Muse. We are filmmakers. I'm in Seattle, Washington.
I'm in Los Angeles, and together we're Paper Palace Productions.
And so how did you guys meet to even get started together? You're obviously two different areas. Did you meet in college? How did all this work? How did Paper Palace Productions, did you do the PPP thing on purpose? You down with PPP? Yeah, you know me.
That's amazing. I just love an alliteration. Molly has a really good story about how that name came to be. But we met in Portland, Oregon. So we did both go to college there. We didn't go to the same college, and we met right after college, but we were both cast as sisters in a feature film that shot in Portland, Oregon. So that was, for both of us, it was our first lead role as actors. First, we were actors before we were filmmakers. And it was so fun to be on this big film set and to learn how the crew worked and how everyone was like this, well-oiled machine to create something magical. And since then, we just became like really in love with the filmmaking process. And even before I think we realized we were doing it, Molly and I were like thinking of ways how we could make stuff and like being curious about the production process in addition to like the creative of like writing and acting and all that. So we started rehearsing for that in 2012. It shot in 2013. And like since then, we've been making things together.
That's awesome. What was that film?
It's called Birds of Neptune, directed by Stephen Richter.
Okay, very cool. So 2012, 2013. So Lana Vinker, do you know her?
Yes. She's wonderful.
She's great. Yeah, she's a long time staple in Portland there.
Oh, absolutely.
And in the Oregon film industry in general.
Her work is incredible. And also I just have to say from a casting I'm just so happy that casting is getting more of its due lately, like especially with the Academy, like wanting to shed light on that and having a category open for that and everything. But Lana's like always been such an incredible casting talent. And it's cool that we had her in Portland, Oregon, because she's great.
Yeah, and she's so much more than a casting director. Like she's so much more involved in the community, in the film community, and everything there. I met her. Yeah, I met her years ago, probably around that same time period. I have a film festival I founded in Florida, and so I had her as a guest at the festival for a couple of years there.
That's cool. What's that festival?
Sunscreen Film Festival.
Awesome.
We're going into our 20th year in St. Pete.
Oh, that's huge! Congratulations,
yeah.
The big landmark year.
Yeah, the big 2-0 for 2025. So that should be a lot of fun. So you guys met in post college, working on that film, and then just sort of became best buddies and started deciding on working together on projects from there.
Yeah, that film went to film festivals. We premiered at Slamdance in Park City. And that was a whole new experience for us. Hadn't been to a film festival before. And we just loved it. We had so much fun and we saw so many inspiring films and connected with a lot of amazing filmmakers. And we were kind of plotting and scheming how we were going to advance our careers because as actors, as you know, you have to audition and you have to be chosen and you just don't have very much control over your career and where it's going. So we were hoping to forge relationships with these up and coming directors and hopefully work with them in the future. And then we ended up setting up some international projects and we were like, wow, what if we did this like in a row, and we kind of like went on a tour around the world making films with these filmmakers, and we should make a documentary about that. So we had an idea to make Jump the Fence, which is about filmmaking around the world, independent filmmaking. And we only shot the pilot for that, but we shot a pilot in Brazil in 2017 for Jump the Fence. And that was our first, like, us as filmmakers project. And that it's a standalone feature film, and we submitted that to festivals. And we won like Best First Feature at Arizona International, and then sold it to the Ovation Channel, and now it's out on the streamers. And then from there, we started making some short films, and we have 2 narrative short films on the circuit right now. A family trauma drama called Wrap Me in a Sheet is going around, and then we also have a a spooky comedy called Ghost Town.
Yeah, I watched both of those earlier today in preparation.
Double feature.
Yeah, in preparation for our
or
call.
Double short.
I haven't seen your documentary yet, but I did watch the trailer to it, and it looks like a lot of fun. But the two shorts were really great. And Slamdance as your first festival, that's an interesting festival for your first one. I much prefer Slamdance to Sundance. Obviously they all take place at the same time, but to me, Slamdance is like just the more real of the festivals happening in that town at that time period.
Yeah. We love Slamdance.
It's like what Sundance used to be. It's like a true independent festival.
Yeah. For years, I would always go to Slamdance and be a sponsor of that festival and just hang out there instead of doing any of the Sundancey kind of stuff, because it was just, those are more my people.
Yeah, I feel that.
Yeah,
it's a good time.
And so you did the feature doc in 2017. You said, Is that when you completed it, or is that when you started shooting?
That's when we started.
That's when you started. When did you finish that one?
2020.
Okay. Hey, no, there's
we didn't think we'd ever get out of post for that.
Trust me.
It's dying in post, as I'm sure you can relate on some level.
Yeah, I spent 3 years working on a documentary as well, and so I know how that goes. You shoot it, and then it's like forever, like edit and version, and all of the stuff that goes into it. So that's good. So 2020, and so between 2020 and now, working primarily as actors. Prior to doing these the two shorts that you have, Ghost Town and Wrapped in a, I'm blanking on the Wrapped Me in a Sheet. Wrap Me in a Sheet, yes.
Yeah, well, I mean, 2020, we all know there wasn't much going on. So we, part of the short film stuff was, again, us taking control of our careers. Hey, there's nothing happening. There's no work right now. Let's make our own stuff. Together. So that's kind of where that came from. But yeah, we're both actors out working.
Now, Seattle and LA, how did you, it's almost like you guys broke up and went your separate ways, but you stayed friends and you're still working together. And how did that work out? And like, what was the impetus for going from Portland to Seattle and then to LA? How did that work?
Well, after the film that we met on, we were getting very excited to take on more acting work and go places where there was more. So I immediately moved to LA, and Molly moved to New York, and I'll let her tell her side of that. But I've been here like over a decade now, and I just love it. And there's a lot of waves of like, it feels like abundance and then just dearth, just nothing. But it's very exciting and very fun. And for me, like LA is perfect because it just feels like such a creative, fertile ground. And like you're kind of the weirdo if you don't work in the industry in some way. And I just find that very cool. So I've just been here ever since. And I love Portland. I went to college there and kind of grew up there through my young adulthood. But I was just thinking, well, I know I want to like work in the creative field my whole life. And I feel like I would have to be somewhere bigger to make that like possible in the magnitude that I dream for it to be.
Awesome.
Yeah. And I moved to New York for a while and went to act, and then ended up like bartending and partying a lot. And I was working as like a birthday clown and just being after a while, then we had Birds of Neptune, started the festival circuit after I'd already moved to New York. So then we started working on Jump the Fence, and I was like, I don't really need to be here for this. And it was kind of the only thing I was doing. So I put all of my energy into that and missed home. So I moved back to Portland for a while, and then ended up moving up to Seattle for love.
For love.
A good reason.
How very nice. So you kind of really quickly glossed over birthday clown. You're like, birthday clown. So I have to
just know. You wait.
I have to know more about this, because I think I saw in something Austin had sent me, you have a birthday clown movie you're working on as well. And I'm assuming based on your experiences and what you learned as a clown.
Little did Molly know she was actually in development for a TV show we'd make later, that whole job. So I'll let her take that away.
I mean, the great thing about the birthday clown business is that everyone was an actor or a writer or a comedian. Like, I don't think anybody like grows up wanting to be a birthday clown. So it's like something you do on the side that's like performance adjacent, where you get to like kind of mess around. But I worked as a birthday clown for 2 years, and it was wild and so much fun. And I got really good at balloon animals and face paint, and we would do a magic show. But it was brutal. I mean, we would do like 5 birthday parties in a day, and like exhausting, and then start to dislike children after a while. They're like part of the job, and I'm like, I got to get out of this. I don't want to hate kids.
Yeah. How does that even happen? Is there like Craigslist, like clown needed, no experience necessary, and you're like, I could do that. I'm a bit clownish.
They know their audience. They know that they're getting like actors and theater kids are the people who are usually willing to be birthday clowns. So there's postings up on Backstage. But I follow someone I went to college with, went to New York before me and ended up working as a birthday clown. And we were good friends. So I would have phone calls with him and he would tell me about it. And I was like, oh, it was just juicy.
Yeah.
Detail. It's so much fun to hear about because weird things happen. And he was also really depressed all the time. So he's like dressed as a clown and like crying and just great imagery. And so I moved to New York and was like, I'm never going to do that. But then I ended up moving in with a friend of his who was a birthday clown, and they pay you if you refer somebody. So she was just like my ass to be a birthday clown, man. And then finally she came home and was counting her cash in front of me, and I was like, pretty good. You're getting paid. I started doing it, and then I don't regret it because it was an incredible experience. And it's nice to do something that's just like so out of the ordinary and wacky and kind of shake up your life a little bit. And then, so that's been an experience I've been holding and remembering. And then just this last year, Britt and I partnered up with 2 other very talented, funny people, and we wrote a TV show pilot that we've been submitting to competitions now, and we'll see where that goes. That's something we can't produce on our own. It's very expensive.
I'm sure. Did you have to go to clown school? Because there are actual clown schools. Ringling in Sarasota, Florida has a proper clown school that people go through to learn how to do the whole thing. Or did you already have the magic and the balloon animal skills, just in your back pocket, and you're like, I got this. This is easy.
No, but it's not as formal as that. That's like, there's like clowning, and there's a whole tradition that comes from like Italy and
dell'arte and stuff like that.
They have like real clowns, and you can be classically trained in clowning and all of that. This is not what this is.
Oh my God. I have to say, Molly, I don't think I've ever heard the clown commission detail before, and that's so funny that someone was like just trying to get you to clown so they could get their clown commission. We should put that in one of the episodes. But I've been hearing about this story of the birthday clowning for years now, and every time Molly would tell a story from it, I'm just like, this is truly like, you can't write this. Truth is stranger than fiction, and it's so funny. And so some of these situations that she found herself in were so ridiculous and hilarious and extreme that we're like, okay, it just writes itself.
Yeah, I can.
So it's very fun.
And have you guys seen Capturing the Freedmans, the documentary?
No, but it's on my list.
It has to be before you make the clown show.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what they set out to do, was make a birthday clown documentary, and they end up making a child abuse documentary, a whole, we won't go down that road, but it was like such a weird twist where that direction went on that particular great documentary.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely watch it before you make a clown one. So you keep talking about all these hilarious stories. I know you're saving them for the show, but you got to give us one. The audience is going to be like, tell us something. You've got to say something. Give us one hilarious clown story.
My favorite was actually, it's a friend of mine was dressed as Ariel, because you're a princess as well. And she showed up to this party. You know that it's going to be shady when there is a party for a 4-year-old that starts at like 8:30 at night. So it was like a late night party. She's dressed as Ariel, and no adults to be found. Shows up, there's like kids everywhere. Can't find an adult. And you got to get a paper signed before you can start. And she goes, she walks in, and the kids are like, oh my God, Ariel, thank God you're here. we need your help. And they start pulling her, and they bring her into this room where the adults had set up these large tubes of fish to give away as party favors. So you had these huge glass tubes of fish that they were going to give kids, these like beta fish. But one of them had been knocked over. Oh. And so she walked in and there's fish flapping all over.
Oh my God.
Or in water, and she's dressed as Ariel, and they're like, "Oh, the fish prince."
Woo, good thing the mermaid's here. We're saved. Save the fish.
Up all of the fish and trying to save as many as she can, and the kids think she's this like major hero, and
that's so disturbed. I love it.
It's so sad. How many fish died for this child's birthday party?
Right, never forget.
Well, and then when they
fish.
Yeah, and then when the kids did get their fish and they go home with it, they didn't live but a week, if that, because it's just not happening in a situation like that. Where were the parents? Did any adults were they found anywhere at any time?
Yeah, they found them eventually, but they were having their adult party in the basement,
drunk and passed out somewhere, basically.
So questionable.
Yeah.
So that's a little taste. But
I love it, and that's a series. Have you written like just the pilot, or you've got like your Bible mapped out with like your first 6 episodes and first season and all that kind of stuff?
We have the pilot is in a really good place. We're super happy with it, and it is submitting right now. We have an outline for the full season or for the full series, the whole show, and like kind of where it ultimately ends, broken down into some seasons. And yeah, we're working on that Bible.
That's fun. Now, like stylistically, Office style docu-series, or more of just like a straight single camera comedy kind of thing?
We're still debating on our tone references because there are 4 of us and we're trying to decide where we're at, but we're more closer to like Glow.
Okay, sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. I think where we're at with that. We talked about
the tone thing's hard in the bear. The tone thing's hard and fun, but it's like there's so many ways we could go with it. The container's really good of like each episode being like its own party event and then having the home base of the Clown Central and all this stuff. So the container's good, but it's like, wow, there's so many different ways you can play within that container. It could be like, The Office. It could be like Party Down. It could be like The Bear. It could be like Glow. So, it's fun to be figuring that out. And like with each draft, like we realize, well, we have to like decide which direction to go with it. So I think that's part of the fun because our worlds are like character in our world is pretty defined. And now we're just trying to do that like final fine brush stroke of like how specific can we possibly be with that tone.
Very cool. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys do with that one. It sounds like a lot of fun. So for your 2 shorts they have now, you're on the film festival circuit with these 2 shorts. And when did you finish those, and like how much longer is your festival run?
Write Me in a Sheet we did first, and I think that was the end of 2019. No,
that was like right after the first vaccines came out, and we're like, let's go. So we shot in 2021. Oh, this is actually something I wanted to say earlier is like, we really became like very creatively alive during COVID because it was like we needed to as survival. And Molly and I and our good friend Ian, who was the cinematographer on Jump the Fence, the 3 of us are basically a 3-person production crew. So both those narrative shorts we shot with the 3 of us. So like, especially during like still those COVID times, we were able to do a lot together because it was just the 3 of us. We were non-invasive, especially with a location like Ghost Town, which is an actual ghost town in the United States. Like because we're a 3-person production crew, we could be very non-invasive. It was also like safer during COVID for just be the 3 of us, all that. Write Me in a Sheet we shot in 2021. And then Ghost Town was the following summer, 2022, that we shot it. And I think with each of those, like our post was pretty fast. It was like maybe 6 months for each.
Okay. Yeah, that is quick. And so 3-person crew, that's it. So literally you just had camera, and then for sound, how were you guys doing sound? Did you just use like hidden little mics, like those little Rode mics or something to capture audio, or what were you doing for sound for those? Because it sounds good and they look good.
That's good.
We had lav mics, and we did have boom mics as well, just on like clamped to a C-stand
And we did some ADR after the fact too. With one of them, we had to do like some extensive ADR,
sure,
which was a learning experience. But I'm glad that you think it looks and sounds good, because especially with Wrap Me in a Sheet, because it was our first like narrative short and first thing we wrote together to make, we were like, this is going to be fun. Hopefully we'll get a movie. And if not, it's fine. Because we received an artist residency program to be a part of at this place called Southwester in CB, Washington. It's near the ocean, and they just host artists there to work on their different crafts. And so we received that year, and we thought, okay, well, we're just going to have a creative stay away, and we're going to work on this film, and it'd be great if we get something we like. So I think not putting that pressure on ourselves allowed us to be kind of free with that. There's so many variables we couldn't control, like the weather. Mm-hmm. I mean, we were on the ocean, we're shooting an ocean film, and it's like 1 second it'd be so bright sun, the next second it was cloudy, and like trying to keep continuity in that was so challenging. And we had to go back and reshoot some things certain days. We only had 5 days there. So I think like in hindsight, if we were really trying to make the movie we ended up getting, it'd be super stressful. But because we were kind of just like, okay, we're going to have a nice creative time, everything just happened to flow and work out, which was so cool. And then we had that confidence after Wrap Me in a Sheet to try it again with Ghost Town. And we learned a lot from that, and were able to like plan out even more and plan for more things, because there's so many different times during Wrap Me in a Sheet where we're like, we don't have the film. We just don't have it. So it was, yeah. And I think with the three of us, it was great problem solving.
It was definitely more chill in the lead up to it. And when we first got there, and then there was definitely a moment with Wrap Me in a Sheet, like day 2, when we're like, oh my God, we need to hurry up.
Well, I love the fact that it was a crew of 3 people. Like, you didn't need to, that made you much more nimble, right? Like if you wanted to go reshoot, you didn't have to gather 15 or 20 people for your shoot to go back and do it. You just had 3 people. You went and the 3 of you got together and you went and did it. And the stories aren't, not super complicated in a way where they're designed where you need a massive crew to be able to run and do through them, go through everything. So obviously, you guys did all your own hair and makeup and wardrobe, which is fine because you're starring in it and producing it and directing it and kind of doing all the other roles. But as long as you've got clean sound, good looking, video. I think they all came together great. I talk to so many filmmakers, and I meet so many filmmakers who are like, well, I'm trying to raise $50,000 for my short film. And I'm always like, why? Why not just go make a movie? Why are you making it so complicated? It doesn't have to be that complicated. I'm assuming that you didn't spend $50K each on your shorts.
No,
no, we didn't. But I'll tell you that I just got off the phone with Ian, the DP, and the last thing I kind of said to him was like, because we're working on another project right now called Cheese Show, and it's a documentary about cheese and cheesemakers in the Alps, and we can talk about that in a second.
I do want to talk to you about that, but keep going on your current thought.
But the conversation was kind of like, look, I promise you that we're not going to do this anymore.
Scrapping
not going to keep working so hard and not getting paid, not paying people, like asking favors. It's just like at a certain point, you can't keep calling in favor.
Yeah.
People who do this, people who are really good at it, do it for a living. And yes, people are passionate about your project, but like, that business side has to come, because the really, really high quality work that's polished, and like it does take $50,000.
It does.
It's like,
it does. I 100% agree with you. It takes a team, and people deserve to be paid. I'm 100% on board with people actually getting paid. But, sometimes when you have these filmmakers that are just starting out or they've got something that they really want to do, is like, why not just get together with your friends and make something? You get so much more out of making something than waiting 2 years and making nothing and still not getting the money together to do it. And so I'm always just a big proponent of go out there and shoot your thing.
Yeah, that's really the only way, because the true barrier to entry, filmmaking is, there's huge barrier to entry to that because of the cost. Mm-hmm. And we had the benefit of like the 3 of us being so close and having a diverse skill set and complementary skill set that we're like, yeah, let's just do stuff like we need to. And then at a certain point, we hope that like we have enough work under our belt to be attracting either investors or co-productions or, broadcast partnership, which is kind of where we're at now, of going off those routes and exploring that. But kind of like with any entrepreneurial effort, it takes like a decade to start to be in that space at all. So it is very tiring and very fun, but I do feel like we're at the point where we're starting to grow, and there's a lot of growing pains with that because we're like, oh my God, are we going to die doing this one? But I think it's like right before, that influx comes in. And of course, we all know the industry is like going through a lot right now and has been going through a lot really since COVID. So it's like trying to just breathe through that and be patient and know that like things come around. And just treating people well, like more than anything. Of course, like you have the budget you have and that's it. And as long as you're clear and kind and tell people what the deal is, they can decide to jump on for like less than they're worth, or they can wait till the next one when you have a full budget.
Yeah.
But we can't like put a gun to someone's head and give us money unless we decide to go into that business of robbing banks or whatever. So
yeah. Well, and you have to have something to show to begin with. And that's, short films are business cards. And so those are the things that people are going to see to decide if they want to work with you on your next thing that costs more money. So I have to ask you, where was the ghost town? And I have a reason for asking this besides curiosity. Where was the ghost town that you guys shot?
So that's it.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, go for it, Mom. You can take it.
You go. You're in California.
Okay, California. So Bodie, California. It's not too far away from Yosemite, and it's like maybe an hour out of Mammoth Lakes. So in 2015, when Birds of Neptune was still doing its festival run, we had a festival at Mammoth Lakes Film Festival where it screened. And one of the activities they had for film festival or filmmakers was to take this trip to the Bodie State Historic Park, which is the U.S.'s largest ghost town. And truly, it's the coolest place I've ever been. It's kept in this state of arrested decay, which is what the rangers call it. They're not going to, what's the word? It's like they're not going to restore anything, but they're going to like keep it from falling apart faster.
Right.
But like they leave everything as it is. You can look in the windows of buildings and you'll see children's coffins. Wow. You'll see a school house. You'll see houses with like coats still hung on nails on the walls and like canisters of, Ovaltine. It's crazy. And like pictures on the wall. It's like the most incredible film set that's just real. Yeah. So Molly and I we've been fascinated with this place for years and years and years. Like we couldn't stop thinking about it. So a few years ago, we just thought, as a fun exercise, let's write something for this place. And I think we are crazy enough to think, maybe we can shoot there. But realistically, we probably wouldn't be able to because that place is like you can't disturb it.
Right.
And it's open to the public. It is a park, but like you can't just go in there and mess around.
Yeah. You can't get inside the building. You can kind of be outside, but you're not allowed to go.
You can't go in the buildings.
In the buildings, right.
Right. So we submitted like an application for permit and it got rejected. And we're like, okay, we kind of let it go. And then months later, Molly gets a phone call from a new ranger who was like, hey, I saw this application on my desk and I think we can do it. We're like, what? And she was so cool. Her name is Karina. And she was the reason we got to shoot there. She was like, 3 people, non-invasive. I like the story. It's kind of fun idea. And not only did she give us this like exclusive tour of the whole place, but she said, I saw you might want to shoot in a building. Here are 4 or 5 buildings I can let you in right now with me. And we can decide if you want one of these because we've deemed it safe enough for like limited people to go in and you can shoot there. So that was like truly a miracle, like so not in our control. So, I mean, that's the little things like, the film gods smiled on us that day. Yeah. It's kind of like with Wrap Me in a Sheet, like with the weather and all that stuff, we're like, this is never going to match. Like we don't have the film for so long. We never thought we had the climax of the film. It just didn't work. We even had to like leave it alone for some months. Like at some point, like the film gods decide to like, here you go, this is fine. Cause like we really could not have done that all ourselves or figured it out ourselves. There's always like some kind of extra outside influence that kind of makes it happen for you. And Karina was that for us.
That's awesome. So, well, and I
she's great.
Again, going back to that simplicity with 3 people, the fact that you're 3 people and you're not a 15 or 20 person crew, I'm sure was a huge factor because it's such a low, and it's like, well, 3 people, sure. As opposed to...
She actually said that there were some like studio productions that submitted applications earlier that month. I think it was like, I don't remember which ones, but they're studio and streamer productions. And she was like, no way. No way.
200 people and trucks and everything all over.
I don't think so.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and the reason I ask, and I'm familiar with Bodhi because I've been doing some research lately, and I found that particular one, and I saw it. And so I have a friend who's getting married in December, and so for the bachelor party, because we're over 40 now and I'm not doing the usual bachelor party guy thing. He created a Western board game called High Noon that he raised like $250,000 on Kickstarter, and he's been selling it and doing cool stuff with it. And so it's this whole Western thing. And I was like, instead of doing like a typical bachelor party, why don't we do an Old West ghost town tour where we'll just go to some different ghost towns? And he's all about it. And then I was like, well, and since we're film nerds too, what if we just shoot a short film while we're there? No crew. We'll literally just have camera, sound, and whoever's at the bachelor party, those are your actors and your crew, and we'll just do it like 8 people.
That's so fun.
I
love that.
So we're looking for our bachelor party ghost town to make this little Western thing, basically.
That's the most fun thing I've ever heard in my life. I'm
like, to me, that's a fun bachelor party. It's like, I don't want to go to a strip club. Yeah. No, that's not fun. Like, how about we go to a ghost town and make a Western short film? That's fun.
That's it. Awesome. I can't wait to hear how that goes.
Yeah. So we'll see. Yeah. We'll see.
She's your friend.
I may have to ask you for Karina's contact information.
Yeah.
Bodhi there.
We'd be happy to share that with you.
That'd be awesome. Well, tell me about Cheese. When I read the deck and I took a look at the deck, and I see like this a series about cheese that you're going to go to Swiss Alps, and I'm a huge fan of the Swiss Alps. I have friends that live in Switzerland, and so I do like a snowboard trip over there every year. So I'm not hanging out in the cheese part, but rather sort of the ski resort aspect. But Switzerland is one of my absolute favorites. When people say, United States is the greatest country on earth, and I'm like, yeah, sure. But have you been to Switzerland? Because it's pretty good. I kind of like it. That's pretty good over there.
Well, I can't wait to go. We've never been, so nice. It's a true adventure. But we started working on this by way of Britt's passion for cheese. I don't know if you want to talk about the cheese.
Sure. I love cheese. And it was, let's make a show called Cheese Show, obviously. So I had some friends who are notable cheesemongers here in the US, and I just kind of was like picking their brains about cheese, and then like kind of having this idea of a similar template to Jump the Fence, whereas Jump the Fence was, let's profile shoestring independent filmmakers around the world. What if we profile like remote cheese makers around the world? And our first season was going to be Western Europe, but we kind of like just pared it down to the Alps region, and we'll expand in the next season to Spain. And then I would love to do a Mexico season, Mexico cheese. There's a lot of interesting things there. But it's just like the idea of there's so many cool stories that we would never know about unless we decided to profile people in these remote places. Like a lot of these families have had the tradition of cheese making for centuries, and also many of them are having their cheese die out essentially because their kids are not interested in carrying on that tradition. So I find that really fascinating. Another theme we're exploring in the show is women in cheese, so female cheesemakers, sustainability and biodiversity, because these traditions, like they work with the land and the animals. The treatment of animals is kind, like the cows have names, they're family, pets or family members. It's not industrial factory farming. So we're really going the opposite way of like what we're used to nowadays, which is like this large industrial complex of processing food, and how, that's not great for our animals and our planet and our health. So going back to tradition, that like, hands in the dirt kind of feeling of making something tangible and sharing it. So we've been saying like from milk to plate, we're interested in that whole process. For a lot of these makers, it's a vertically integrated process. So they, some of them will go from milking to aging to like getting it to a 5-star Michelin restaurant nearby or something like that. So everyone has a different story. And the very first story that intrigued me to want to go down this road a bit more with cheesemaker stories is one of my cheesemonger friends was telling me how there was this married couple on a remote island, and the island is called the Loneliness. And it was just the two of them and their cows living on this island. And the wife is an opera singer, classically trained opera singer. And when they would take the cheese to age in the cave on their island, she would sing arias to the cheese to put it to rest for the, I mean, you can't make it up, right? It's so beautiful.
Yeah.
And then they would take a rowboat to row the wheels of cheese to the mainland to sell it.
Wow.
And I thought, oh my God, this is so cinematic and amazing. Like, these stories are incredible. And the couple was so sweet, and I would love to hear their story. And then, unfortunately, as we were developing the show, the woman got cancer and she passed. So the husband is like putting a pause on everything. A person is, but I was just like, wow, that story is amazing. And all these stories are so like ephemeral and fleeting. And especially with the cheeses that are going to essentially become extinct, it's going to be cool to profile that. And the only extra thing I'd love to do with the show that we can't do is like have people physically taste the cheese that you can only get in that remote region. So we really want to have a way to like feel like you can almost taste it.
Yeah.
While we're there.
That can be part of your whole sort of distribution plan or festival run. You have to take cheese with you to the screenings or something. Yeah,
that's a great idea. But we have a really great star who we're featuring in this. Her name is Lydia Burns, and she's like a very notable cheesemonger here in the US. And she has personal relationships with all these people. So she'll like take us on a journey to experience these cheeses and meet these families. And she's just so wonderful and a great personality. And I feel like every time she talks about these cheeses, I can taste them in my mouth. So I'm like, okay, Lydia, we're really relying on you to let the audience taste it. So I think she's just gonna do a great job. It's gonna be a joy to watch.
I was reading her bio in the deck, and it was like adjunct professor of cheese, and I'm like, that's
totally.
I was like, that is a wild job title. What do you do for a living? Adjunct professor of cheese.
Right.
That's awesome. No better place to start with cheese than Switzerland. That sounds great.
Yeah.
So where are you guys at in the process with that one?
We're in pre-production, so we are shooting September 10th is our first day of principal photography. So it's been a roller coaster, as I think is pretty normal, of people who can go, can't go, people dropping out, cheesemakers dropping out. And just trying to also people who make cheese. So these alpage producers, they live up in the high altitudes, often living and working without electricity, and making cheese like over a wood fire. And it can be difficult to get them to like nail down a date.
Yeah, they're not checking their email every hour.
Right. So just like coordinating all of that and trying to tighten everything up and just tightening the screws, and we're heading out at the beginning of September.
So where do you start? Like where you guys flying into, and then how do you what's the route like starting out in Switzerland?
We're flying into Munich, actually, okay. Germany. We'll be going down to Lucerne and Gruyere, Switzerland, and then we're going to be working our way up and by Lake Constance, and kind of hugging around Lake Constance. We've got some spots also in Austria and Germany.
Sure. So you're predominantly in the Deutschsprachen section of. I speak a little German, so you're in the German speaking region of Switzerland, as opposed to Eastern Switzerland, which is French and around Geneva and that area over there.
Correct.
Yeah. Well, it looks like we found our translator here. We have a job opening.
Well,
I'm studying German every morning and evening right now.
You got on your Duolingo, and you go Duolingo German.
So she can say the butterfly wants a sandwich and useful things like that.
I know, like I took German in high school like forever ago, and back in 2019 was headed to Oktoberfest with some friends. So I started picking up Duolingo again just to refresh my German, and I'm in like a 1,500 and something day streak. I got it.
Nice.
Thank you. Yeah, so I'm keeping that German going. But it's funny. Anytime I'm anywhere in a German speaking area, they always speak English to me because they hear the English accent, and they're like, they all just speak English. And the only time I ever get to actually speak German is to the taxi and the Uber drivers, because they're all Turkish and none of them speak English, and so German's the only common language. And so they tell me that my German is good, but I'm assuming it's because their German is bad and my German is bad, and so together it's a combination, and it makes somewhat good German that we can actually have conversations.
Isn't that funny though, when someone's like speaking English to make it easier, and you're like, no, you don't understand. I'm here to practice German. Please, yeah, it's like I'd
like to try my German at least. But Swiss German is even a little different from like regular German. And then just like in the U.S., you've got different dialects. Munich is more of a Southern German dialect as opposed to Berlin, a little more Northern dialect up there. Those are the same though. Like I can get along in Berlin or Munich and kind of communicate with people there. Switzerland. Some of the words you're like, what are you saying? What are you saying? I'm not. This is a little off. But if you need somebody to help eat cheese and talk a little bad, ein bisschen Deutsch, then I'm your guy. Feel free to bring me over.
Oh yeah.
See you there.
And you're shooting the pilot? How long are you there, and when do you expect to wrap that up?
We're shooting a full season, 6 episodes.
Oh, you're gonna do all 6. Amazing. So you have gotten funding for this. So you've gotten some money to do this, or are you just shoestringing this as well?
No, we have private investment who's getting us through production. So we're doing it. We're going. We have enough for that. What we don't have enough for is to finish it. And
that's okay.
But the important part is to get it in the can, and then we'll figure.
Yeah. So no. Once you have something in the can, and you can put like a little teaser together, or a trailer, or show people what you've got, you'll get the post money from there.
Yeah.
That's the hardest part, is especially for a series, because to have 6 episodes shot and you just have to do post, and you maybe even be able to sell it before you finish it, and then just finance off of whatever your sale number is going to be to get the post to get it done. I think that's a very good possibility.
Yeah, that's what we're going for. We've spoken with a lot of people about it who are interested, and like you've read the pitch book and you can get like a sense for what we're doing, but people want to see not the idea of what it might be like, but literally.
Of course.
Yeah. Everyone wants tape, but it's like, well, to get tape, we have to go there. So I guess we'll just make it.
Yeah, that's good. That's the hard part. But once you have it, once you've gone to Switzerland and get all your cheese footage, and then you can show what you've got, and show the personality of your host and everything, and people get it, and they feel like, okay, 6, and when you need this much to finish, that makes it a much easier kind of thing. Let me know when you get to that point. And the reason I say that is you may or may not have heard that this month in July is my last month with the Dallas Film Commission.
Oh, wow.
Yes, I've taken a position as the head of physical production for Talent Entertainment Finance. We're an entertainment finance company. And so I'll be producing full-time, and we do invest debt and equity in some projects depending on what they are. So I'll be looking for stuff come the beginning of August. So make sure.
Well, congrats on your chapter flip. That's super exciting.
Thank you. Yeah,
really good to know.
Yeah, I know. Well, the amount of people on LinkedIn and other places who I've never met in my entire life who are sending me their pitch decks is insane right now. So
I bet they're like, anyway, hi, remember me?
Yes, we met once 20 years ago. Here's my pitch deck. Will you make my movie for me?
Well, don't forget about us.
Well, that's why I said I wouldn't say it if I didn't mean it, and because I watched your shorts and they were good, and I can see what you guys can do. Again, those are your business cards, right? And I like the premise. So, and the fact that you'll have footage, that makes it easier, because I know starting out we wouldn't be investing in a cheese show with nothing to show to see what it would actually be, just like everybody else. So
yeah. It makes sense. And I'm very grateful for the experience of Jump the Fence, of the like never ending post, because there's so many times we thought we were going to walk away from it, and then it just brought us back. It's just like those type of reps when you're exhausted and you're tapped out of resources. It kind of shows you, it's like, you know what, it'll probably come again, but like if it's in the can, you're going to finish it. We can't just walk away from something that's in the can. I know Molly, I know myself, like we can't do it.
Oh, there's no way.
But sometimes it's like, you just don't know the full timeline, and you don't know the path. You don't know who the person or or party is going to be that kind of like makes it come together. And that stuff can't be forced. So I'm like very grateful for that experience, because it really did feel like, wow, we did all that and it's not going to turn into anything, but it definitely did. And it's kind of like the whole artist path of like, you're excited, and it's despair. And then it's good. And then, so just kind of trusting that weird wave that we ride.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. That's really exciting.
Yeah. Do you think by beginning of January, you'll have some sort of a rough edit, teaser, whatever to show at that point?
Yes.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. That's probably a good time frame. I'll make sure you get my new email address so that
thank you.
So that we can stay in touch with that.
Yeah, and then you can also let us know if we can connect you with Karina out at Bodhi.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out with my buddy what he wants to do with that. We found a couple of possibilities, and it really depends on the other guys, like how much money they want to spend because the wedding's also in Mexico, so it's like going to Mexico for the wedding.
Oh, wow.
How much do people want to spend to also go on a Wild West ghost town tour and make a short film, all together kind of thing. So who knows? We may just end up in Key West. And just have a good time down there. But I'm pushing for the Wild West short film as the bachelor party. So we'll see.
Oh, I'm pushing for you too. Will you remind me of your friend's board game? Because that sounded awesome. And
I will. Yeah, it's called High Noon. And if you just Google High Noon board game, there's a Kickstarter campaign, and then he's got a website, and you should be able to find all of it there. So
I love board games, and I love that theme. So yeah, I'm gonna look that up.
There's a pitch for Dwight's board game, High Noon.
Cool.
So what else? Anything else before we wrap up today? What else would you like to say or tell the audience that's listening, or will be listening on July 23rd when this comes out?
There's just one thing, because just to close out an open topic, which was Britt mentioned our name Paper Palace, and we were talking about how you just go out and make stuff. So I guess I just wanted, we can leave on that note, which is that that's what Paper Palace means to us. It's taking what you have, paper, and making something grand and beautiful out of that. And that's kind of been our guiding light ever since. And the name came from just like making toy sets out of paper when you're a kid, and you can create a whole imaginary land out of that. I used to do that a lot when I was a kid. And so, yeah, it's like, what do you have? Who do you know? What smart, creative, talented people are you friends with? And what can you together and make something beautiful together? So that's the whole thing.
That's awesome. I love that. And I love you. I love both of your energy and just your let's go do it attitude. Those are some of my favorite types of people to spend time with, is like, let's just go make stuff, and who cares if we have money or no money. Let's just make things happen. So kudos to both of you for that.
Thanks. Back at you.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you everybody for listening to the Dallas Film Podcast, and we hope you tune in for the next one. Thanks.